stranger on the high seas. Back when I had a fishing boat, a horrifying incident occurred that still haunts me. My wife and I embarked on a 2-day fishing trip in the North Atlantic. The first day went smoothly with a decent catch. At night, we played cards while listening to music. However, the following night brought an unexpected turn. It was a slow day at sea, and we were playing cards again, this time without music. My wife mentioned that she heard an unusual noise, like a motorboat engine in the distance. I assured her it was just another boat. It was a stormy night, but the noise was different. We got concerned when the sound grew closer and turned into a loud engine noise. It was then that we realized a shabby, unlit motorboat had pulled up right in front of our boat. We assumed the operator was low on fuel and asked us for gasoline. We had none, and my wife tried to comfort me by saying we should go below deck. However, the motorboat's presence made me uneasy. The man on board was middle-aged with a beard and a baseball cap. He stared at us but said nothing, and the situation seemed eerie. We couldn't figure out why he needed gas if he wasn't running low. Suddenly, he turned the boat around and left at high speed, disappearing into the dark. We were shaken but decided to stay put. Hours later, in the middle of the night, my wife let out a chilling scream. I leaped out of bed and saw a man standing at the edge of our bed. I lunged at him, but he escaped the room. I heard the motorboat's engine starting and speeding away. Terrified, we sailed back to the shore and reported the incident. The police couldn't find the man, leaving us haunted by the encounter. The unseen intruder. This story didn't happen to me, but it happened to my cousin, and it still gives me chills thinking about it. My cousin, Nicky, was chatting with his girlfriend, Sam, on Skype one Friday night. They were discussing whether Nicky should come over and spend the night, but he didn't want to drive so late. Sam was trying to convince him, but he was still hesitant. It was around 1 a.m., and Nicky was considering going to bed after watching a movie. He lived with his dad, but his dad was working night shifts and wasn't home that night. After watching the movie, Nicky turned off the TV and decided to go to bed at around 2 a.m. He loved falling asleep during thunderstorms, and this was the perfect night for it. There was a storm outside, the rain pelting the windows, and thunder rolling. He lay there for a while, half asleep, when suddenly, the door creaked open. It startled him because he knew he had locked the door. He listened intently, but the creaking wasn't followed by footsteps, and he didn't hear anything else. He thought maybe his dad had returned and was coming to check on him. He called out but received no response. He assumed his dad was just going to use the restroom or something. Nicky waited but started feeling uneasy. He decided to get up and check, but as he reached for the doorknob, the door slammed shut. Terrified, he immediately unlocked the door and left his room, searching the house. It was empty. He called his dad, who was still at work, and his girlfriend, Sam, who was miles away. That night, he stayed at Sam's place. When he went back home in the morning, he couldn't explain what had happened, and it remained a chilling mystery. The mysterious hitchhiker. Years ago, I was driving home late one evening from a friend's place. The drive was long and quite lonely, with no other cars on the road. As I turned a bend, I saw a woman standing on the side of the road, waving her arms to get my attention. It was dark, and the situation seemed odd, but I decided to pull over and see if she needed help. She was a young woman, maybe in her 20s, dressed in what looked like old-fashioned clothing. She seemed distressed, saying her car had broken down, and asked if I could give her a ride to the nearby town. My instincts told me not to pick her up, but she looked genuinely scared. I let her in, and she thanked me for stopping. During the drive, she told me stories about her life and how she was heading to visit her parents. The whole time, I couldn't help but feel something was off. She was aware of my discomfort and kept reassuring me that everything was okay. Eventually, we reached a small town, and she asked me to drop her off near a cemetery. She said her parents' house was just down the road and that she would be safe from there. I watched her walk into the distance before driving away. The next day, I felt a strange urge to visit the cemetery. I'm not sure why I did, but I found her name on a gravestone, along with the date of her death, which was years earlier. I can't explain what I experienced, but it left me with a sense of unease. The Ouija board warning. This story comes from my college days. My roommate, Sarah, had a fascination with the supernatural. She convinced our group of friends to try a Ouija board session one evening. We gathered in our dorm room, dimmed the lights, and placed our hands on the planchette. The atmosphere grew tense as we started asking questions. Sarah wanted to speak to her late grandmother. The planchette moved slowly, spelling out coherent responses that only Sarah would know. The experience became eerie, but we thought it was all fun and games. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted. The planchette began to spell BWARE repeatedly. It felt like a warning, but we dismissed it, thinking someone was joking. At that very moment, the dorm room door slammed shut with such force that the windows rattled. We screamed in terror and tried to open the door, but it wouldn't budge. A cold breeze swept through the room, and the planchette continued to move, spelling out LEAVE. Eventually, the door opened on its own, and the terrifying ordeal ended. We quickly packed up the Ouija board and never used it again. The warning we received that night still haunts me. The Disappearing Girl. This story occurred during a family camping trip to a remote forested area in Oregon. My family and I were avid campers, so we were prepared with tents, hiking gear, and food for a week. My cousin, Sarah, and I decided to explore the forest together. It was a beautiful day, and we ventured deeper into the woods, following a well-worn trail. We eventually reached a small waterfall with a picturesque pool at its base. The serene setting encouraged us to swim. We placed our belongings by the pool's edge and waded into the clear water. We laughed, played, and enjoyed our time. However, as the sun started setting, we decided it was time to head back to camp. We noticed the path seemed different, with the trees and landmarks appearing unfamiliar. Panic set in as we realized we were lost. We retraced our steps, but nothing looked right. To make matters worse, we heard a strange, melodic humming sound. It was faint but unmistakable. The sound seemed to come from the woods ahead. We cautiously followed the sound, thinking it might lead us to other hikers or campers. As we ventured further, the humming grew louder, and we soon saw a girl standing in a clearing. She had long, dark hair and was dressed in an old-fashioned, white dress. She appeared to be around our age and had a distant, almost trance-like expression on her face. She kept humming a haunting tune. Terrified, we called out to her, but she didn't respond.